Purple Territory Radio Pregame Show, brought to you by Refine the Light.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Purple Territory Pregame Radio Show. My name is Tyler Haig. I'm joined by Andy Miller, Jack Day, Giotto Troia, Jordan Hawthorne. We'll hear from all of them in just a second. But to start, we have the brand spanking new news that Dalvin Cook has been ruled out. This is concerning because it's a hamstring injury. What is your opinion as far as the level of concern with Dalvin Cook? Let's start with Jack Day. What do you think? Concerning?
I'm not super concerned. Maybe I should be, but I think I said last week I'm a big believer in Latavius as well. Latavius got it done for us last year, and I personally enjoy watching him run. He hits his holes super hard, so I like that a lot. And I hate to say this, but I think it's kind of precautionary like it was against Buffalo. Let's hope it doesn't go the same way that it went against Buffalo. But I think that, I don't know, I think it's kind of a weird thing, though, because I was expecting him to play all week, and he was a full participant in practice, I believe, on Thursday. And it's kind of weird that he had a snap count given out, and then they came out with this news so late in the day Sunday. But yeah, that's my opinion on it, I guess.
Andy Miller, how about you? Concerning?
I guess I'm not really too concerned about it. I mean, just keep him out of the games and let him get healthy. I think that we should put we should all put our faith in Latavius. I think we can trust him to be the lead back during this game. I guess I'd also like to see some more Rock Thomas kind of outside zone runs that we used a little bit during the Eagles game. So I don't think we should be too concerned about it, to be honest.
Giotto, how about you?
Honestly, I think that Dalvin Cook should be kept out just to get healthy. And I agree with Andy, like Latavius Murray, although he hasn't done too much yet this year, he's proven that he can be a capable backup. I mentioned the stat earlier in the week on my radio show on Wednesday about the Vikings only have one top 30 rusher in any of the 5 weeks, and that's week 2 when Dalvin Cook was the 30th rusher. So the rushing game isn't great, but they've pulled through and have a winning record, although it is 2-2-1. So I think it's smart to keep Dalvin Cook out. I don't think that they necessarily need their rushing game to beat the Cardinals this week.
Jordan Hawthorne, how about you?
So for the team, I don't think it's that concerning because, we did sign Latavius to come in and be the guy before we drafted Dalvin Cook. But, I mean, I'm a little, my eyebrows raised a little bit just because Dalvin Cook seems, he tore his ACL last season and he's been dealing with a hamstring this season. And I'd like to see him for a stretch of more than, like 5 games where he's just healthy and I'm not concerned about whether or not I should put him in my fantasy lineup.
For sure. As far as, it has to be concerning because it's a hamstring thing. He's been out for weeks. I think everybody should be a little concerned, but I can't remember who said it, but they don't need the rushing attack to win these games necessarily. I think that's a good spot, and we want to rest Dalvin, get him ready, get him normal, and let him do his thing. Because at what point is he injury prone? If he's out 2 full seasons with injury, is he at that point injury prone? He might be.
I think so. I think he's, he had the ACL last season, but that's kind of common. But now we're seeing, if we want to consider this his first season, then we're seeing that he's got he gets his hamstring dinged up, and I'm guessing there was some type of setback or something with his hamstring, and that's why he's not playing today.
For sure.
I don't think it's just for health reasons. I think we kind of learned our lesson in the Bills game that we can't hold anything back against any team.
Yeah, they better not be sitting guys because they think they're going to be fine and win the game. They should have learned that. But that's a great transition into how bad are the Cardinals. I don't think they are that bad necessarily because they're 1-4, but they've lost a couple of close games. Giotto, what do you think? How bad are the Cardinals? Are they not that bad? What do you think?
They've had a real issue getting David Johnson going this year, and I think that's their major flaw in that offense. I think somebody put out the stat line that they've lost like 2 games by a combined 5 points or something along those lines. And yeah, they're not as bad as their record says. Josh Allen is a capable quarterback. Christian Kirk is coming along. Unfortunately, Larry Fitzgerald has had some injury issues. I think it was hamstring this year. So they're not that bad. They're definitely a threat. They just need to put it all together, and they, like I said, need to get David Johnson more involved. He's one of the most talented backs in the league.
Yeah. Andy Miller, what do you think?
Yeah, you should never take any NFL team lightly. We obviously learned that during the Buffalo game. And I think I said it during that pregame show that it's up to Mike Zimmer and the leadership on this team to keep them grounded and for them not to overlook Buffalo. So hopefully they're doing the same thing this week, and they realize that this is an NFL team too. Everybody is there for a reason, and that any given Sunday anything can happen. So,
yeah. Jack Day, what do you think?
I agree with what was said. I think they're a decent team. They got a young quarterback who's showing flashes. He hasn't been the greatest. He has under 50% completion percentage, but he's a rookie, so you can't expect too much out of him, especially when your star running back isn't getting it done as much as they'd hope, and Larry Fitz is out. But on the defensive side of the ball, I think the matchup to watch today is Rashad Hill starting at left tackle against Chandler Jones. That scares me a little bit because Chandler Jones is an absolute freak, and he's very good at what he does. And I mean, the Bears beat the Cards by 2 points, I think it was. So and everyone's super high on the Bears this year. So I think the Cardinals are a decent team. Better than their record, at least.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Better than their record, I think, is a great way to put it. As far as the matchups are concerned, we got, Patrick Peterson against the wide receivers for the Vikings. How do we see that matchup playing out? We'll start with Jack and go the other way.
Well, right now we have 2 receivers that are playing really well, and he can only cover one of them at a time. So I think that one of them is going to go off. And even if he's a matchup on Diggs for most of the games, Diggs, I don't know if you guys saw some of the routes that he's been running. I've just been seeing ridiculous routes he's ran on over the year on Twitter, like the between the legs basketball thing. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was pretty funny, but he's just been shaking guys like crazy, and Thielen's doing the same thing. So he can only match up on one of them. So I think at least one of them is going to have a day today.
Andy Miller, how do you feel about the wide receivers?
Yeah, so I guess in the past that we've played the Cardinals, I think Patrick Peterson has kind of had his way with Diggs a little bit. Obviously, Diggs has improved a lot, every single year that he's been on this team. But I guess that's going to be an interesting matchup to see if he can, put some of those moves together this week against Peterson. But, we still have another monster on the other side of the field in Adam Thielen. So I think we'll be fine today.
Giotto, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be tough with the Vikings passing attack to match up defensively with them. You've got 2 number 1 wide receivers and a potentially 3rd number 1 pass catcher in Kyle Rudolph. So there's always going to be somebody open. It really doesn't matter who Peterson covers. Like everybody else has said, there's always the other guy or maybe 2 guys on the other side of the field that are going to be able to catch passes from a gunslinger.
Which, is basically what, Cousins has thrown the ball well. He's got a lot of yards to show for it, a lot of touchdowns to show for it, and they haven't turned the ball over. It's fair to assume that, wide receivers are going to do well. Jordan, what are you seeing from the wide receivers versus this secondary from Arizona?
I don't know if Pat Pete is going to shadow Diggs or Thielen. I think they might try to have him just line up on one of them, maybe try to mix it up so that way Cousins can't just, focus on one of them throughout the entire day, and he kind of has to mix it up between them. But other than that, I think this Vikings offense matches up well against Arizona's defense. Someone mentioned that Chicago only beat them by 2, and Trubisky had a pretty bad day against Arizona, if I'm remembering correctly. He didn't look good. So I think Cousins can come out and he can hang up enough points that Arizona with their young QB just won't be able to keep up. So I think I kind of went off on a little tangent there, sorry guys, but no. But yeah, I think Pat Pete's gonna be all over the field today.
Yeah, that would make sense. It's more difficult to find him, and therefore more difficult to make your adjustments and find who you're going to throw to from Cousins' perspective. That makes sense. Speaking of quarterbacks, at the beginning of the season, I kind of had circled this game because of Sam Bradford and his involvement in the quarterback decisions that were made this offseason. Let's just leave this wide open, and we'll say, do you think the Vikings made the right choice between Keenum, between Sam Bradford, Cousins, and we'll throw in Teddy Bridgewater as well? Jordan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got Cousins playing at an MVP level, and the only other quarterback who's really playing now is Keenum, and his, the one play that's always going to stick out in my mind about Keenum is him missing that wide open touchdown in that Kansas City game on Monday Night Football.
Yep.
So I think Cousins is 2 or 3 steps above Case Keenum, and I think we made the right call giving him the money. I mean, he's just having an outstanding season.
Giotto, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the way that the Vikings handled the quarterback situation this offseason, but I really think that they should have kept Teddy Bridgewater. Giving $87 million guaranteed to a quarterback for 3 years is great, but what happens after that 3 years? He's still a fairly young quarterback. He's still going to get another contract. Did we maybe want to keep Teddy Bridgewater, see how he develops, and then potentially not have to pay Kirk Cousins another fully guaranteed amount of potentially $100+ million for another 3 years? I completely agree with getting rid of Keenum and Bradford, though. Bradford's not even the number 1 quarterback on the Cardinals at this point. So,
that was a $15 million contract Bradford signed, and he's like the number 4 quarterback on their depth chart right now. It's insanity. Andy Miller, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think it was unfortunate that we had to let those 3 quarterbacks go. But I think Kirk Cousins has something that we liked in all 3 of those quarterbacks. He's taking something from each of their games and putting it together.
That's a great point.
With Teddy Bridgewater, you had the leadership and the franchise quarterback. Bradford, you have the accuracy and the ability to step up in the pocket and throw some absolute dimes. And then Keenum just playing with the heart, honestly. So, I mean, 100% we made the right decision paying Kirk that amount of money. I don't really care how much it costs, to be honest, because we've had so much turmoil with this team and quarterbacks for the last 15 years. Who cares?
Yeah, I agree completely.
Our front office has shown the ability to manage the cap at a high level that other teams just aren't able to do. And they've been able to sign into this mega deal and continue to keep our core players. And the cap's only going to go up every, $10 million every year now. So I don't really care how much we have to pay Kirk to be on this team. He's worth it, every penny. He's that good of a quarterback with the supporting cast around him. So the amount of money really doesn't matter to me. So I think it's worth it 100%.
Jack, what do you think?
I agree with everything that's been said. I think it's kind of a no-brainer that he's having a lot better of a season than everyone else has mentioned. I also wish, I don't remember who said it, but the Teddy thing I agree with. Teddy's always going to have a special spot in my heart. I just loved watching Teddy play football. I don't know what it was about him. His willingness to go out there and just be that leader and be competitive. Jumping off what you guys are saying about him having kind of a combination of all 3 of them, he also is what I've noticed throughout the year. And like when I was researching and watching videos of him throughout his Redskins days, he's a lot more mobile than I thought he was when I used to watch him play. Like when he was in with the Redskins, I've been shocked too, because I think we won a lot of games last year because of Case. Bradford, I think, is the better quarterback talent-wise, but Bradford would have sat in that pocket and got absolutely smoked last year. And Case's mobility was something that kind of went under the radar a little bit, and I think Kirk brings a little bit of that to the table as well.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. As far as the offense and Kirk Cousins is concerned, they also, obviously, the Vikings got a new offensive coordinator this offseason. What is our assessment of how things are going on offense so far this season? Jack, we'll kick it back to you. Do you think they're doing well with the new offensive coordinator, new quarterback? How is it going?
I think they are, but Zimmer still has, like, during his pressers and stuff, he's still hinting that he wants the run game to come out more, and we still haven't seen that. And that's kind of the first time that that's happened, I guess, that I can remember. We've always had a pretty solid running game since I was young, and I think it bothers Zimmer, and I was kind of going to touch on that as well. I think today might be the day that we finally see our running game. I like the way Latavius runs, and I think the Cardinals are letting up over 142 rushing yards a game, and I think we might kind of have our way with them in that aspect of the game today if our offensive line can get off the ball decently. And I think he's done a pretty good job so far. I'd like to see the run game come out a little bit more.
Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, we've been throwing the ball a lot in these games. I don't know what the numbers are specifically, but Kirk's been throwing it at least like 50 attempts in each game, which is just super high. I'm not really sure if that's like the greatest thing for Cousins, to be honest. Especially for our O linemen too. The more they just drop into pass coverage, I'm pretty sure they have a greater risk for injury. So, I mean, DeFilippo's kind of chalked it up to like game flow and kind of being behind in a couple of games, which I do believe. But I would really like to see them establish the run, and Zimmer would. And, even DeFilippo has said that if he could establish the run, he would. So I really hope that this week is the week that we kind of get the run game going a little bit. So
For sure. Giotto, what do you think about this offense?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that's been said. The running game with Latavius Murray is a little bit slower than we were expecting at the beginning of the year. Like I said, we haven't had a top 30 rusher since week 2, and only one in the last 5 weeks. So it's really tough to sort of count on the run. But my main worry, and I know that Zimmer is talking about getting the game to be a little bit more dependent on the run. My main worry is that they force the run in a time when they shouldn't be, in a time when they should be trying to get ahead by several scores or something like that, and then try to get the run jump started. If it's a close game and shootouts like they've had several times in the last several weeks, then I don't think that they should get the run game going. I think that they should be sticking with the pass, because that's been what's working for them in the last several weeks.
Jordan, how do you feel about the offense so far?
I really like what the offense has been doing. I liked it last week. We saw a lot of like quick screens and stuff like that, because I think we're kind of saying, okay, so if the offensive line can't block, we'll just, we'll throw the ball really quickly to Stephon Diggs and let him go with it and see what he can do. And I think he's really good in space. He's real agile. He can make guys miss and get like 5 or 6 yards off of a quick screen every time. So I like that we're doing that, but like everybody else said, it's football. You have to run the ball traditionally to really make it into like the postseason and stuff. So I really hope we can get that going today. I think we have a favorable matchup, and I really like the way, I can't remember who said they like the way Latavius runs the ball, but I also really like the way he runs the ball. He hits the hole pretty quick, so hopefully we get that going today.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything you guys have said. It's just that the offense is only going to be as successful late in the season as the offensive line will allow them to be. And that offensive line is, again, kind of being shaken up because Riley Reif isn't playing. Jordan, where are we at with this offensive line? Is this a huge concern? Do you think this is something that could derail the season for this team?
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but it's snowing in Denver today.
It's snowing in Minnesota today. I hate it.
It's not quite there in Cincinnati yet. But, obviously, the Vikings get a dome, but we're gonna have to go and play in some cold weather games, and I think once it starts getting real cold and there's snow on the ground and all that kind of stuff, that's whenever the in the trenches football starts, and that's when we need the offensive line to step up. So I'm hoping, I'm holding out hope that it's not that big of a deal, but I mean, this line's it's banged up all over the place. It's been not good all season. So, just fingers crossed that, we get some guys out there and hashtag move Mike Ramos back to tackle.
No joke.
Giotto, what do you think about the O-line?
Yeah, the O-line's banged up for sure. The only real notable absence from the game today is going to be Riley Reif, but it's definitely concerning going forward, especially with a quarterback that has been throwing the ball 50-plus times a game. Putting him in at the risk for injury, not being able to get the running game going. It really, to use a term that I don't want to use this time of year, snowballs into a it snowballs into a sort of bad situation going forward, especially if they can't stay healthy and get healthy. I don't know when is the bye week. Does anybody have that on hand?
I don't know the answer to that.
It's week 10.
Is it week 10?
I don't know. It's probably around there someplace.
It's 9 or 10, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, there's still a few weeks to go, and that bye week couldn't come soon enough, I think, for just everybody to get healthy, including Dalvin Cook. So it seems like Dalvin Cook is on the right track, and that'll help the O-line out a little bit. But all these dropbacks and passes from Cousins are really sort of showing their wear on the O-line.
Definitely. Andy, what do you think about the O-line?
Yeah, if you're not worried about the O-line at this point, you haven't been watching the Vikings the last couple of seasons.
Yep.
Because 2 years ago, it literally derailed the whole season. We were 5-0, and then it went downhill from there. Mm-hmm. Rashad Hill starting at left tackle has got to, worry you a little bit with Chandler Jones coming off the edge over there. So, DeFilippo's got to, help him out a little bit, put some tight ends over there, put David Morgan over there on that side. In the snaps that, who's our rookie?
Brian O'Neill.
Yeah, Brian O'Neill. I think in the snaps that he's got, he's been doing pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in his first start. I'm also kind of concerned, what's the deal with Brett Jones? Was he just supposed to be a backup? Is there a reason that we're not moving him out to guard or something? Because Tom Compton has not been great by any means. So I'm kind of curious what's going on with Brett Jones and what's his situation. If he's just going to be a backup the whole season, or if they are going to move him over to guard at some point.
Yeah, because it feels like they could use him right now, doesn't it? Feels like he would help a lot.
Yeah, the interior has been so bad. You saw it last week. Fletcher, obviously it is Fletcher Cox. Like, I'm not taking anything away from him. But he was just in Cousins' face the whole day. So I don't know if there's something going on, if they want to shake it up with the O-line a little bit, move Remmers back over. But I feel like we need to do something a little bit. So
for sure. Jack, what do you think about the offensive line? Can it derail this season?
It scares me. It scares me every year. I've always been scared of the offensive line, but kind of bouncing off what was just said, I am pretty excited to see Brian O'Neill play a full game. So there's obviously not too many stats for offensive linemen, but when I watch the game, if I notice you a lot, that's a bad thing. And so I haven't noticed Brian O'Neill too much this year when he's been in, and I was worried about him when we drafted him because everyone said he was undersized, and he was a tight end, I believe, originally, and he switched to tackle. And I don't know, he's put on some weight, and I'm excited to see what he can do on that right side of the line, because if he can keep progressing, that would be a huge hole to fill. Even if just with depth, it would help us out a lot. So I'm looking forward to watch him have a full game under his belt.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see. Let's start with predictions now, because I'm going to cut this a little bit short so we can get ready and set up for this live game commentary that we are doing, the brand new show on Purple Territory Radio. So now let's get into the game and score predictions. Jack, what is your prediction?
I'm thinking a Vikings win. I think we're going to put up a decent number. I think earlier today I was thinking about this when we were going to do this, but I think I'm leaning towards around like 31-17, 31-14, somewhere in that ballpark. And then I was going to jump in earlier. I forgot to say this. I was on Twitter and I just saw Roto World tweeted that the Cardinals are open to trading Patrick Peterson, which is kind of shocking that would come out now.
Very interesting.
But I just saw that and thought that was something that should be touched on as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Make the deal.
It should. Andy Miller, what's your prediction?
Yeah, I think we're going to win this game today. I can easily see our offense putting up 30 points today. But I can also see, depending on which Mike Zimmer defense shows up, if the good defense or the bad defense is going to show up today. I can easily see the Cardinals and Josh Rosen putting up 30 on this defense if they're just going to, overlook them and just play horrible as they have kind of done this year.
Yes.
Or they can really strap down and, play a rookie quarterback and keep them to 10 points. So it's going to be up to Zimmer in this one.
What's your final prediction, Andy? Come on, you got to give me a score, bub.
It's not my favorite given final scores.
Me neither. I hate it.
I'm terrible at it, to be honest.
We'll go 28. I always go 28-14, and then nobody can ever be
sounds
that.
great.
Yeah, nobody can ever be mad at me.
I'll go
for
with
it.
that.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler.
No problem. Giotto, what do you think?
Well, I think the Vikings are going to smacked in the face a little here. I think that the Cardinals are going to come out. Christian Kirk has been building a good rapport with Josh Rosen. I think they're going to get David Johnson moving a little bit as well. I think it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be a 31-27 final. Arizona Cardinals win.
All right, Jordan, what do you think?
I am glad somebody else picked the Cardinals because that makes me feel less bad for doing it. I also think that the bad defense shows up and we all are very sad tonight. I'm gonna go like 31-27. Arizona, unfortunately.
Damn.
Just because I don't have faith.
I'm going to do a total cop-out, and I'm going to go 28-14 because I have no idea which version of the Vikings defense we're going to see, and I could see them losing this game. This feels like another, I don't want to say trap game, but this feels like a game that they overlook, an offense that can score more than they are ready to acknowledge, and this is a very close game that the Vikings wind up losing late. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program, and we'll see you next week if we don't see you during this live game commentary coming up in just a couple of seconds. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, thanks.
Skull Vikes. Peace, dudes.